So just follow my hands, just a test run. And follow my feet. Okay. So I only have 2 rules for the next session. Enjoy yourself and embrace the moment. Okay. Enjoy yourself and embrace the moment. Then you follow my moves. What I try and do with my students is to bring in the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic experience. So in other words, we get those neural connections in the brain going and put students totally out of their comfort zones so that they learn. Okay. So this takes me to my interrogation process. How do I go about interrogating what I've done? So for example, let's say today I decided we're going to do a dance together. So I would interrogate it by observing what happened. I would ask you, what did you experience? Why did you experience it? And then I would go reflect on it and ask why. Was it positive? Was it negative? How do I adapt it next time? I consult colleagues in the field, especially those who work with large classes, and especially those who work in the physical education realm. And then I engage literature, and I try again. And we see how it goes. So it can go both ways. Now what I realized in the process from 2013 when I started teaching physical education to this present day, is that it depends on what lens you are looking at when you are interrogating your data collection that you're getting from students. So if I'm taking the qualitative and quantitative data, although I would think I'm taking a student-centered approach, unfortunately, and which I'm going to talk to you about, in my experience, a lot of it was still teacher-centered. So I really had to dig deep and start to become reflexive versus only reflecting. What I find is because I come from a more positivist background, in other words, we do a lot of quantitative data, I hadn't been introduced to this world of qualitative research. I tended to analyze things more from a content perspective. So if students feel like this, upgrade the content. If students feel like this, fix yourself, get more qualifications. Students feel like this, and that's the approach I took. So what I'm going to do is just share some of the data that I've gathered so far, whilst we reflect on the student, the context that we're in, and the content, my interrogation cycle that I go through, and then of course how this has led to my teaching philosophy. Okay, so we're starting with students. What's important to consider, where do I get my information from my students? I look at email correspondence, student facilitated voices. I've got senior staff that facilitate me, observations in class, and Likert scale. So here's just some examples. Here are examples of positive feedback. And the list goes on, which is fantastic, so I'm doing something right. There's some examples of perceptual changes that students had, and I can share this with you after. I won't go into too much detail now. But just as much as it was positive, it was also negative. So the negative list is just as long as the positive list. So I started to think to myself, something's not right here. After I had upgraded my modules, implemented certain content-specific changes, I ended up in 2014 with a memorandum of demand from students, completely unhappy and disengaged with the modules, which I found very perplexing and I didn't understand why. So just an example of some of the changes I made and the quantitative data on a Likert scale, adding value to no value and how students perceive those elements. And then going to 2015, going to 2016, where if you take time to look at the data, you'll actually notice my scores decreased. So I was thinking to myself, what is going on here? I'm putting in all this effort and the students are not engaging. I was very helpless at many points. I wanted to learn something because I'm sure we've all experienced as a student, you think, yes, you're doing so much, but nothing's happening. And then I was thinking, but why aren't students engaging with me? I've given them support structures, why aren't they coming to chat to me about it? And then eventually I got to the point, okay, challenge accepted, let's see what's actually going on. And I started to change my lens. But this lens started to change in a community of practice, especially with the CTLM staff and collaborations and getting introduced to the qualitative world.
My students come from diverse backgrounds, right? They have a wide variety of learning abilities, right? From your top learner all the way to the learner that's actually the first in their family to come to university. They struggle with different concepts, all right? Most of my students are also speaking students with have English as a second or third language. Now for myself, that's very difficult for me because if I was trying to, for example, being a student trying to go and study in a second or third language, I would have struggled immensely. Okay? I have a large number of students who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. I also have a number of students who are first in their families, as I've said, and also some with learning disabilities. And I have to take that into account when I'm preparing my classes. All right? I also have a lot of my students who have cell phones. In today's world, in South Africa, right, I'm a marketer at heart, and what we know as marketers is the most used technology device in South Africa is a cell phone. Right? You go and add all the TVs, you go and add all the laptops, the radios, they still do not come to the amount of cell phones in the country. Right? However, the cell phones that our students have are not all web enabled. Right? So there's definitely a link that they will miss if you just do on a cell phone. Alright? So from this was born my teaching philosophy. Alright? But generally, where it came from is it was built from our own life experiences. Growing up, alright, studying for my own tests, I didn't learn like everybody else. Alright? I made use of multiple kinds of ways of learning. Visual, audio, practicing thousands of times. Right? And by realizing that I learn differently from others, I realized that there are unique learning needs for each of our students. Right? As I've said before, that's my passion, blended learning. Why? Because it takes both the positives of contact lectures when you're in the classroom and combines it with online. Right? Some of the opportunities that our blended learning provides us, continuous learning. Right? You can be anywhere and you have this resource that will be available to you. Right? You can go onto Moodle, and the reason why I talk about Moodle so much is that is our platform. Alright? So you can get it at any time, at any location. You can track my students' progress through our quizzes, our small tests. Alright? You can monitor my students' results. Now at any point, if there's a section of work my students are struggling with, and they have a class test, alright, and they don't do well, all of a sudden a red light goes on. Right, that's the area they're struggling with. Right, let me go back. Let me try and ask them, which part of this? And then I can try and assist them in that area. It also accommodates a variety of learning styles. One of the nice ways of doing it is I have hyperlinks in my Moodle sites, and they can click on them, get extra videos on that work. Right, so this was my teaching philosophy. Right, it's to facilitate students' learning through creating a dynamic, blended learning and encouraging environment that enables learning and promotes excellence. Now for me, excellence is not getting 90%. For me, excellence is achieving to your full potential. Right? If that's 60, that's excellent. Okay? It is vital for me that my students feel free to express themselves. Alright? I try and encourage them. No question is a stupid question. Right? You've got to be in an environment where you feel free. And I always try to say to them, as much as you're learning today, I'm learning. Right? So it's not just me telling you what to do or me giving you my information. Tell me how it works with you. I've got one context which I will go and talk about in business management or in marketing. How do you go and perceive it in your environment? Let us learn together. Alright? I try and come up with unique things for my classes through current trends. I have a section in every single class I do called Hot Topics. right? And I try and put my students in a kind of scenario that they're currently busy with. I go and look on News 24, nothing political, right? I keep it very focused on business-related issues, right? And in so doing this, giving each of my students the tools which they can excel and reach their full potential. So that's my goals. All right, now this came to a head last year during Fees Must Fall. And all of a sudden I was dealt with an idea that, all right, it's all great that I have this great passion on blended learning, all right, but what does this mean for my students? Now what happened last year was that the majority of our modules were actually transformed into a continuous assessment that was highly reliant on blended learning platform of Moodle. All right, so all of a sudden semester tests were being done using quizzes. All right, so there was a great shift towards this. It reinforced to me why we need both classroom and online, right?
An old Chinese proverb which says, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. But teach a man to fish and he'll eat for years. And I've added to that, and the addendum goes as follows: and then through education you can break the shackles of poverty. And that has become my personal philosophy, which has run like a golden thread for a number of years in my teaching and learning. The activities that today I conduct in the classroom are an accumulation of the feedback that I have received from students throughout the years. So the golden thread that will run throughout the presentation this afternoon is improving marketability of students. I do know that there is a school of thought that exists that says, but business is selfish, and business is there to gobble up the students and their skills. So, why work for students? Well, the philosophy and my moral upbringing has always been of such a nature that you do unto others. And my father has taught me that in business, if you do help students, if you do help customers, if you do help people, then they will in turn be able to do a lot of good in business and in industry. And so therefore, the golden thread that will run throughout this presentation is marketability of students. To ensure that students, when they graduate from this university, that they are as marketable as possible at the end of their tenure. They must realize, students must realize and become grounded in the values that we teach them in this university. And that the workplace out there is a brutal workplace. But we teach you. We teach you as lecturers, we teach you the basic values. Take it out there, become grounded in those values. The respect for others and Ubuntuism. University, students need to understand that each one of them is a brand. And when I come into the classroom on my first day, as a first year student, I have 3 years to polish up my brand. Like any product that sits on the shelf, no customer will purchase that product unless we can market and advertise the brand. And in the same way, I as a student, I am a brand, and that brand needs to be polished. I have 3 years, I have 4 years to work on that brand, to polish it, and to market it to the employer out there in the workplace. So therefore, each student needs to be taught that concept right from the first year, first day of their university experience.